You're listening
to the CD Baby DIY
Musician
Podcast.
Hey there, and welcome to the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast, episode number 97. My name is Kevin, and joining me for this Roundtable edition is Chris and Bolton.
Howdy.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
All right, I'm adjusting my mic stand, so if there's any little squeaking, that's me.
Are we really going to have champagne for the 100th episode?
That's it? We're going to have whiskey,
Really? Who's supplying all this? Because
turkey clubs.
Can we have
judging
it?
by the excitement in the office of us approaching the 100th episode,
I'm excited.
I'll be
I'm
glad.
thrilled.
Well,
Can we
you
podcast from a hot tub?
I could get us in a hot tub to do just that.
Sounds like an electrical nightmare waiting to happen.
Nah. Yes, we are getting close to 100 episodes, which that's quite a feat in podcasting.
Yeah, and has very little to do with me, mostly to do with you two.
Well, Chris, we couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, I just show up and act like a curmudgeon.
There's no acting involved, really. That's
True. Very true.
I have a little anecdote before we get into the news, just as a word of warning as to read the fine print or to read into what is not there, I guess. But my band got, it was supposed to be this contest that this local radio station was doing, and it's a big alternative rock station here in town, and they were trying to find local bands to do this summer concert series. And first off, you know, the wording on the website said the show was worth $250, so we were assuming that if we got selected, it would pay $250. Well, we did get selected, and I talked to the guy on the phone, and he's like, "Oh, it's we're not paying the bands. It's the amount of promotion behind it. We figure is about worth $250."
Oh, you have to pay to play?
No, but they're just saying what they're providing for us.
It's like a virtual value.
Yeah, like you playing at this show would be as if you paid us, or you got paid $250, you know. You're getting that value out of it.
Oh my gosh.
So I was like, okay, whatever. Well, you know, the place that was having this is this like high-end mall, and there's another one here in town that does a really big deal in the summer for a summer concert series. And so I was kind of thinking that's probably what these people did. And I got I talked to the guy on the phone, and then he sends all the bands the information, and the whole sheet about the show had like 4 points. That was it. It wasn't even half page.
Uh-huh.
And like point one was go here to unload. Point two was if you want to sell merchandise, you have to bring your own table, and it must have a black tablecloth. And like point three was like you have to get all your merchandise and signage approved ahead of time. And I thought that's kind of weird, but you know, it is this mall that has some standards, so okay,
Right.
whatever. And then the last thing all it really said was that the band is to play for 2 hours with a 15-minute break, and they'll supply recorded music for that break.
Mm-hmm.
And
The band will supply.
Yeah, the band will supply recorded music for that break. And I was like, that's very odd. Do they want us to play our album? Then I start thinking, wait a minute. They're not providing a sound system for us, because why on earth would the band be required to play recorded music? And so I emailed the guy. I'm like, asked him about the merch situation, because it told me to contact these people, but didn't give me any contact information. I said, hey, what's going on with the sound system? I'm led to believe that maybe there isn't one. And he's like, the bands are supposed to supply the sound system.
It's like the gig that keeps getting worse.
No,
Oh my gosh.
so I'm like, how is that a $250 value for me? So we canceled, because we thought about it's like, and the tough thing was, it's this very big radio station here in town. Obviously, they're not as involved as they made it sound like. I don't know. They told me that they were excited to hear us play, but you know, first off, we don't have a sound system, And even
Yeah.
if we did, I had no specs about, maybe my little dinky sound system wouldn't cover what it needed to be covered. So that also made me think there's probably not a stage. They said the only thing they were supplying was power, which I could imagine one extension cord with a power strip.
Well, not to
That's
bash
bad
on local Portland radio stations too heavily here, but the other really good station in town has this summer concert series that your band is playing.
Yes,
My
actually,
band
next
was
week.
invited to play. I got an email confirming everything was great. I convinced my bass player to come back from a vacation 4 or 5 days early so we could do the show. Then I look at their concert schedule. We're not on it. I write, I'm like, what's going on? There's this other band scheduled to play the date that I was confirmed for. Double booking. Not that apologetic, kind of just, tossing it up to some confusion around the office. I'm like, I had my bass player end of friggin' vacation to come back and play this gig. Is there anything you can do about it? Can we schedule it another day? What's going on? I didn't hear back. Didn't hear back for about another week. I wrote again. Kind of just like, office confusion. Sorry. They're like, maybe we can get you in on something else in the future. Now I'm like, well, I could be a pain in the ass and say, all right, what is that future thing? Let's book it,
Right.
And then on the other hand, I don't want them to associate my name with just being like a little pest, but
See, I would worry about making them mad more so than I'd worry about making the station that we canceled on mad, because that one, they are more involved locally,
in the
and your
community.
music fits more with that
Right.
station.
So
as
I'm just
well.
going to bite the bullet. Is that the right term?
Yeah.
I'm going to suck it up, and hopefully my bass player won't hate me forever. But
On the topic of Hard Knocks, I mean, this one's kind of a no-brainer. And my band we probably, in our recent incarnation, maybe played 8 shows or something like that. So we haven't been gigging a whole ton. So I haven't been very scrupulous about like what slot we play or anything like that. But the booker at this venue we just played at was like, well, you guys, because she had asked us back from the show we played before a couple weeks earlier, and she was like, you guys are definitely a headliner. You guys should definitely headline this show that we're putting on, And I didn't really think, I was like, well, I was very flattered that we're going to be headlining. I didn't really think that it was like a Sunday night, and whenever you headline like a Sunday night, like nobody wants to stay out late.
Right.
We had played a very nice set to about 4 people who were left in the bar. At Sunday night at like 11:30 or whatever.
there were twice as many people on stage than in the audience.
Yes.
The moral of all the stories: don't assume anything.
Yeah.
Details matter.
Plus, you
And-
should always be wary of headlining a show when you've only played 8 shows. So.
Yeah, that too.
I guess the moral of my story is that you think a confirmation is a confirmation, but it's not a confirmation until it's confirmed and confirmed and confirmed.
Yeah.
And then on the calendar, and then you're on stage.
Exactly. And then once you start playing,
Once you start playing, unless you get the hook.
No, my thing is like, because we got a guy that's working to book some of our shows, and he'll say a show is confirmed. I don't even suspect that it truly is confirmed until I see our name on the venue calendar, and then I see some sort of show poster where, yes, we are on this
Someone
show.
else has paid to advertise it.
Yeah, because I have seen the situation where, yeah, you're confirmed. I'm like, well, everything else says we're not, and find out we're not,
You even have to confirm when you cancel. We were playing at this place down in St. John's, and the bass player was walking down there. We'd canceled the show, but we were up on the placard apparently playing that night.
Hey, man, free publicity.
It's a minimalist
You could do
performance.
that every night and not have to play.
I
Just
know.
have your name plastered everywhere. That might be worth $250. All right, well, enough of our heartbreaking stories, but what do you say we get to some news?
CD Baby.
Music.
The U.S. single-track download market declined 0.2% to 597.4 million tracks in the first half of the year, according to Nielsen SoundScan. Some suggest that the digital singles market has reached a saturation point. Others believe that the $1.29 price for top new releases may have also contributed to flat sales. On a more positive note, download sales of more profitable album format grew by 12.7% to 42.2 million. Digital albums now make up 27.4% of all album sales. Sound Exchange, the performance rights organization that collects performance royalties for music performed on the web, recently contacted CD Baby to let us know that there are a number of artists in the CD Baby database that are owed money. If you're an indie artist with music streaming out on the web, head over to soundexchange.com and get signed up. It's free, and they might have some money waiting for you. Finally, since we'll be talking about video in this episode, if you're looking for inspiration for your next hit, YouTube might be the best place. If you've been on the internet lately, you've probably seen the video of a man expressing his excitement and emotions on seeing a full double rainbow.
Double rainbow.
Well, the Gregory brothers, the quartet behind Auto-Tune the News, have done the necessary. And this is a quote from the Geekosystem blog. They have auto-tuned this man's orgasmic rainbow ravings into a catchy song, complete with their own backup vocals and some sick beats and harmonies. This song is full-on across the YouTube amazing double great. Their Double Rainbow song became so popular on YouTube, fans demanded they release a version for download on iTunes, which they have done. I've seen reports that it even popped up into the iTunes Top 100. But when I looked, it was not there. But those charts are updated daily. So it's possible that the flurry of fans rushing out to get it right when it was released made it jump up into the charts. So,
what does it mean?
What
does it mean? Double rainbow.
Yes, if you have not seen that, we'll put a link to it in the podcast show notes at cdbabypodcast.com. But it's quite entertaining.
Just a guy who goes out in his backyard and he sees not one but two rainbows.
Yeah, complete rainbow all the way around.
What's amazing to me is that this pertains nothing to independent music at all, but he's filming this thing for like 4 minutes, basically having an orgasmic experience, and at no point does he actually put the camera down to enjoy nature without capturing it.
Yeah.
It's just like,
and he's bawling his eyes out.
Right.
So it's pretty funny, but. One article I read suggests there may have been drugs involved, which if you
may have, he was on mushrooms.
But
sure.
So that group, Gregory Brothers, took sound bites of his talking and turned it into a song, and it's pretty good, and it's created a hit for them. So it's kind of
that's one of the
interesting.
first things that I look for when I see like a really funny video on YouTube is I want to see what other people have commented on it, how they've reinterpreted it, and like those videos, the first people get one of those videos up there, he gets, a lot of mileage out of it.
And we should probably also put a link to Chris here wrote an article about just this kind of exact thing that
seizing a current
seizing something that's current. Like if you're the kind of artist that you're laughing, you see something like that on YouTube that's popular and it cracks you up, and you go write some song or something that's inspired by it, or just or reinterpreting what's there. There's a good chance there that you might expose a broader audience to your music, and
And then my favorite of these things was the Double Rainbow Connection. Did you guys hear that one?
I didn't hear that one.
That's the Kermit the Frog song mashed up with the guys.
Oh, really?
Commentary.
Well, I really like they did the reinterpretation where they're going to the Taco Bell. It's like Taco Bell / McDonald's or something like that, one of those double fast food places. And the guy's driving up and he's like, double Whopper. Whoa.
That's funny. It's just funny how one guy out in the middle of nowhere with a video camera gets all this other content generated.
I'm surprised he hasn't taken it down yet. But.
Well, apparently the Gregory brothers are giving him a cut of the money. So that's good. But I should also mention that since CD Baby pays the bills here and allows this podcast to happen, that if you do write a song, the singles program that we now have, you can upload and get your song up for sale on iTunes and CD Baby in no time, and it's only $9. And
that
you could be the next
UPC.
Double Rainbow hit. Yes.
Yeah, that includes the barcode.
Yes, everything. There's no annual fee either.
You can write your own Double Rainbow song, submit it for $9, and be a millionaire.
And be on iTunes before you know it.
Yeah.
and say the podcast sent you.
Yes.
All right, well, let's get to our recap of last week's episode, my interview with Jack Conte of the indie pop super duo Pomplamoose. It's, I think, one of my favorites, definitely my top 5 out of all of the 96 episodes we had done to that point.
It got featured on Hypebot, too.
Yeah, it got a lot of play on the internet. I think, like we've talked about, video is something that people are very interested in and how to use video, and I think the way they're doing it is very clever. What were your guys' thoughts?
Well, I think that, I was sort of vaguely aware of Pomplamoose and that they were... Pomplamoose. And I'd liked the videos that I had seen. I was definitely impressed with their strategy and the fact that they're making a living, basically making fun YouTube videos. And it made me think a lot about using YouTube in my music career. I know that once I have an album together that I want to make some videos to go along with the album, but I think that the integration of looking at music and video as sort of an art form in itself, not just a way of putting music onto pictures, but sort of creating the music and pictures together and using that as like a marketing device was really interesting. And it's just definitely got me thinking a lot about what they're doing and what the other possibilities are, and just that when we've talked before about how YouTube is just such a huge music discovery tool for people, and how using covers is a great way of getting people to find your music online, and all those things just sort of I think sparked a lot of thought for me and probably for our listeners as well.
I was really, when you mentioned the covers, that was sort of my primary concern. The thing I wanted to hear about most was their attitude towards the fact that they're using these covers to get millions and millions of new listeners. But essentially it's, they put their stamp on it, they're rearranging it. So their talent is evident in those covers, but they're not really their song. So I didn't know how they felt about it, if it was gimmicky, if it was sort of necessary evil. But when he made the point about the Beatles, I was just like, oh, of course. Yeah, their first 3 or 4 albums were all mostly half covers, I guess. But
yeah,
a lot of artists, especially back in that era, you had to really prove yourself before they'd let you write your whole album.
Right. And even if it is gimmicky, he seemed to acknowledge the fact that they have to be careful about what they choose and that they have to enjoy the song on its own merits and stuff. But even if it is a gimmick, it's one that's working and people are buying their original music because of it. So
yeah, and I was wondering, having seen their videos before the interview, obviously, I didn't know if what I was seeing was just them like kind of reenacting the takes, or if they were the actual takes. And that made it seem a lot more interesting to me to know that, okay, what I'm seeing is the actual takes of music. And so it adds that extra element of...
What were the music rules they had? They had 2 main rules for making a music video.
If an instrument appeared in the song, or a voice or anything, you had to see it at some point in the video. And then the other thing being what you actually saw was from the actual take.
So part of the appeal of these videos also is people are finding out how to do the things that they're doing, which is kind of a great thing about YouTube, is that you can go on and see how people do stuff and learn, like, oh, this is, how to make a paper crane out of a piece of paper or whatever. But this sort of combines that aspect of YouTube along with, it's like part music video, part instructional video. It's a cover song, so it ties into stuff that people are searching for. It hits all the points. It's very marketable.
Yeah, and that's especially with YouTube. It's last I saw was the number 2 search engine, and so when people are searching and using YouTube for a search engine, they're generally trying to figure something out. And so when you add that element to music, which is one of the main things people are searching for, if not the main thing people are searching for on YouTube, I think it's just, a double win, especially for indie artists. Knowing that, 'cause he has some solo stuff that's a little more rockin', kind of like, I don't know, a little more Radiohead slant to it, a little more rockin'. And so you see him playing and making some of the sounds, so it's kind of like, oh, that's how this is all happening, because he's kind of showing you exactly what he's doing to generate that sound. So it's, I think, a really cool art form. My main question is if it's something that will have serious longevity, or it'll be like, okay, we've seen that. There's a lot of other artists doing this. they're not the only ones, but they're probably the most popular that I've come across doing that.
Right. And not to devalue their talent, which they're very talented, but it always helps to have an adorable girl that can sing really well.
You know, Robert Lee King made the same comment in the comments section.
For once, Robert Lee King, and I agree. Anyways, that always helps. Attractive people in the video.
But he does do a lot of them in his, looks like his pajamas, though.
Well, that appeals to a certain set
the
of...
other interesting thing is that I think where they have done well is there's also a performance element. They're videoing as the takes are happening, and I've seen some other video songs, that's what they coined them as, that aren't as interesting to watch. It is if you're a fan of that band and trying to figure out how they do their records, but they're very, at least Jack is very energetic when he's playing all the instruments, and so I doubt he would be that energetic if the camera wasn't on. I don't know, maybe he would be. He seems like a very energetic guy talking to him. So there's also kind of that element of not only are you making a record, but you're performing for an audience while you're making that record. So it's an interesting thing. I think it'll always be interesting to fans of bands, but whether or not it's something that kind of plays out down the road.
Yeah,
who knows?
it's curious to see. Because he is, in the interview, he is sort of making it as an example of, like, this is what you can do. But, like, if everybody was doing that, would it continue to be successful? I think he is utilizing YouTube very well, but is there room for a lot of artists to be making a living doing that? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if it got to the point where it is, everyone's doing it, it's old hat, no one cares anymore, they got on it early enough and did it well enough that perhaps at that point they could go out and tour and start making money off the success of people buying their records and loving their songs.
Right.
So
let's talk a little bit about that, because that was one of the things I found interesting. I was assuming that most of their money was coming from their association with YouTube, the YouTube Partner Program. And there's a video that YouTube has put out explaining the Partner Program. And basically what that is if they select you, you can enable advertising over your videos and you get a share of the profit.
Right.
And that's how you make money off of YouTube. And so if you've got popular videos, they want to show ads over your videos and give you some of the money. There's also some other benefits from the partner program. You can customize your YouTube page, like add a custom header and kind of tweak it more like a website or like a social network page might let you profile. So there's some other benefits that would be attractive to somebody who's not necessarily just wanting to do share ad revenue. But in the interview, he said they hadn't enabled that until recently, and they were making a decent amount of money from that now. But that most of their income has been from album sales. So I thought that was cool to see that all this, interest on YouTube has translated
Converted
into
directly.
album sales, and enough album sales that they are, buying a new house.
And their album sales are originals, right? Is it true that they don't sell the cover songs?
No, they do. They have an
sell
album
those.
out that's just the cover songs.
Okay.
And they have original albums as well. And they were selling well before that. I'm kind of glad I waited to do this interview with them because they actually popped up on our radar here at CD Baby a while ago, maybe almost a year ago, because they popped up in the top sellers. And then we started seeing their videos. But I'm glad I waited for the interview because now that I can kind of see how those income streams played out, I wouldn't have probably gotten a better snapshot back then, or not as good as a snapshot back then. So it was interesting to see how that's played out. But they're selling a lot, and I think they have a direct deal with iTunes now. iTunes has been offering artists that reach substantial sales levels like that direct deals, just like they would a label. So, which is great for them.
Yeah.
So, so that was interesting that they were getting most of their sales from album sales, and I know the YouTube Partner Program will probably increase for them as they continue.
Well,
to
and he
put out
said
more
that they don't
videos.
play live shows because they end up losing money because they make more money working on videos.
Yeah.
Which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, and they've got 150,000 plus subscribers on YouTube, and plus the other networks. all their website is a place to buy their music. And one thing that on Jack's personal site that I thought he did that was ingenious, you go there and it's just a page basically to buy the music, and there's a YouTube link. Like there's the song, there's a button to listen, there's a button to buy, and then there's a button to see the song on YouTube.
To watch the song on YouTube.
For every song, and there was like 30 songs.
Yeah, that is pretty smart.
So, that takes a lot of time.
You predicted it all.
Predicted it all.
That's right.
Genius.
The number one question we got from artists about this episode so far, how are they able to record and put up cover songs on YouTube? So
Legally speaking,
yes. So I did a bunch of research. I had my own thoughts, and I will say that there's probably a lot of gray area in this topic, and I'm not a lawyer. Even some of the stuff I read from one lawyer online,
I thought that
not very
YouTube
accurate.
just pays it like a radio station does. Isn't that right?
Yeah, that's what's kind of been the understanding. I couldn't find anywhere where it was written in stone, but this is, there's a lot of circumstantial evidence to lead everyone to believe that is true. I did find somebody who wrote on their blog that said, if you believe that it's legal to upload covers to YouTube, then you need to grow up because you're wrong. They literally said that.
Wow.
And he said, even if you want to, there's no argument. Even if you want to argue or disagree, you need to grow up. So I guess I need to grow up.
But if that were the case, YouTube would have taken down
all of it.
All their Single Ladies by Pomplamoose a long, long time ago.
Yeah, and so that's why it's like...
definitely on the radar. It's got like 5 million views.
Yeah, YouTube used them to make a video to promote the partner program to musicians. Specifically had Pomplamoose talk to the audience about how the partner program works, and YouTube put it on their partner program page. So here's what I could come up with, and this is subject to change. But YouTube has a deal with all the performance rights organizations that allows, catalogs to be streamed. That doesn't mean that a label can't freak out about their specific catalog or whatever, because there's always room for that. And the fact that this is on video is the one area that adds kind of the gray area, because in the old days you would definitely have to pay a sync license to attach a song to a video, but in something like this, it's just streaming. It's kind of different. It feels, it's kind of a gray area. But as of right now, from what I can gather, it's totally fine to upload a song that's a cover song. Hundreds of thousands of artists are, and they're not getting pulled. What you can't do is you cannot use an original recording, a master recording that you do not own, and you will definitely get flagged for that. And how it happens is in your account, when you upload a video, it'll say something next to it and give you a warning. It happened to one of the videos that we uploaded on our CD Baby YouTube account. Brian, our president, interviewed the digital strategist for OK Go, and the person who edited the video put in some original source video of their, treadmill video, which is not our content. And so the video got flagged, but it said that it's flagged for having content that we don't own, but they were allowing us to use it at this time.
Right, because if it's, technically it could fall into fair use if it was used as like
commentary or something.
Commentary.
Yeah, if it was commentary, that would be different, but it was just, he was talking about the creation of that video. And so that's what happens when they flag something. So I don't know what the royalty payouts have been like that ASCAP pays to the copyright owners of those songs. But technically, that's how it's supposed to happen. YouTube would not be featuring all these artists if that was completely illegal and violation of copyright. Like I said, I'm not a lawyer. There is gray area.
I tried to upload a video of my nephew running around in the park, and I put some music on it that was not mine, and YouTube stopped it like before it even got uploaded.
Yeah, they've got some things that scan your music, your video, and have a way of figuring it out.
It's probably like similar to that, was it Shazam technology?
I'm sure it is. So anyway, that was probably long and boring enough, but a lot of people asked about that. So feel free to record your cover songs, upload them, and if you get in trouble, Chris said to do it.
Yeah.
Why don't we get into some calls?
Okay.
Sounds good to me.
CD Baby Podcast.
Message line
206-426-5683.
The number you have dialed
206-426-5683.
Hey, Kevin, Chris, and the Bolt. Thanks for the great interview with the guy from Pomplamoose. He had a lot of good, strong DIY opinions, which I thought were really well expressed. He described his philosophy very well about how he approaches doing his videos, his rules. I thought that was a great concept about on his videos only showing the real live takes of vocals and of instruments being played, and that in itself is kind of a great concept. It puts a whole new meaning to music videos that I'd never considered before. So I think he's really setting a trend with a concept that's going to get repeated by a lot of people, including me. But more than that, after going to the website itself, I didn't know what to expect, and I was really favorably impressed by their music. I mean, some great covers, well done. Sandman was great, and their originals, all their originals, sounded interesting, very melodic and a little bit quirky, but it works, and it's kind of compelling, fun stuff. So thanks so much for putting them on the show. Take care.
Hey, Kevin, this is Frances Drost again. I just had a feeling that you were going to pick on me because I said I do whatever you guys tell me to do. So I had to laugh out loud, and I was like, man, my intuition was right. I was going to get it. But then you asked about Pandora, and I just wanted to let you know that I did submit my last vocal album called Inside Things. I submitted that to Pandora, and it did take at least 6 months, and I kept checking back, and I saw those messages saying still in review. And I finally emailed them, and believe it or not, they answered me and said, yeah, we do have your album, and we are reviewing it, and just keep checking that site. So I did, and then it was approved. And I will say that I submitted a couple of my earlier albums, and they were rejected. So, obviously as musicians, we change and grow and hopefully get better. So I don't know if it was production or writing or why they rejected it, but they did take my Inside Things project, and so you can go to Pandora.com and type in Frances Drost, and you will find my music. And so one day I was listening, just seeing who they would play when I created a Christian artist channel, because that's what I am. And my music was coming right along up with, the great heroes of Christian music, Michael W. Smith and Chris Rice, some of those people. And it was really exciting, just like a little radio station with my music right out there with the big guys. So it does work. It just takes a long time, and if your album is rejected, they'll tell you that too. So seems like they do answer you. Anyway, I've taken way longer than I meant to, but yeah, I do try to do what you guys say, so just be really careful what you tell us to do, because, I don't know. So anyway, francesdrost.com. Thanks. Still listening. Keep up the great work. And I don't care if you do a roundtable or not. I just enjoy listening. So talk to you later. Bye.
Well, thanks for those calls.
We'll be careful, we promise, Francis.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll be careful soon, but first we have to come up with something really absurd to tell her to do.
Maniacal.
Yeah.
No, I appreciated that call because it did confirm other rumors I had heard that they will tell you either way if it's if accepted or rejected. And a few other artists have emailed me or hit me up on Twitter letting me know whether or not they had been accepted or rejected from Pandora. One person told me that they've got an older album that's been sitting there for 6 months, still no progress, but then they just uploaded a brand new album and they checked it out and accepted it within 2 weeks.
I bet
Weird.
Pandora is concerned with having things that are current. And if it seems like it's an older catalog item, it's probably not on their priority list, right?
I don't know. I don't know if that matters, because most of the people that I talk to, it's brand new albums. So I mean, like the Hello Morning album's still sitting there, and it was brand new when I uploaded it. And I think they just have a massive amount of stuff. And
well, you know, I wonder too. Older albums, it's probably easier to gauge through like online searches and stuff, like how they've held up against the test of time. So you might have more. You might be able to read reviews and stuff about an album. I don't know how they do that.
I don't think none of that plays. I mean, according to them, and we did interview Tim Westergren,
right. I remember
like a year and a half ago. According to them, it's completely. They've got all these music guys and girls that are all like, very educated music people.
And they're not allowed to connect to the internet while they're listening to music.
No, but they categorize it on, I think, 600 and some different things. So, and they have some sort of standard, they listen to it, and there's some basic standards they're looking for. But I thought, Francis's story it's kind of hard to say, Francis's story was interesting, because that's exactly what I think the appeal of Pandora is. She's got her music out there, and then someone puts together a channel, and some big names in her genre are being played, and her music is being slotted in as well. And so that's really cool, and that's what Pandora seems to be set up for. The only bummer is that they talk about wanting to be there to create a middle class of musicians, but the submission thing is kind of the bummer. I know, not them rejecting people, because I know they do want to keep some sort of standard, but it taking so long to get listened to. So, but anyway, that was good to hear. There was a few other people that told me that. I think someone told me it took 8 months before they heard it, but they will get to it eventually. So.
Does all the calls today?
No.
Oh.
No. Then that first caller, he calls a lot. He's still a mystery caller. We don't know his name. He enjoyed the episode, as did I.
Hey guys, it's Dan in Phoenix here. I just called to briefly touch on 3 items from your last roundtable discussion. First, in regards to low turnout at gigs, my brother used to play in a band that was based in Japan. And when they did a tour of Southern California, I flew over to see them at the Viper Room, which was a pretty happening gig for them. But my brother told me that the night before, they played someplace else in Southern California, and only 3 or 4 people showed up. But it turns out that one of those people was actually a well-known producer who really liked them and ended up producing their next album. So even if you're ever in a situation where the crowd's disappointingly small, just remember that story and try to imagine that one of those few people out there might be in a position to do you some good, because that is exactly what happened to my brother. Second, as far as the issue of using pre-recorded backing tracks when you're playing live, if you can manage to play your original music in an acoustic, unplugged type style, you really should go after that as your first option. And if your music doesn't lend itself to being scaled down, then you really need to put a band together, because if you present yourself in a karaoke style, it really is going to make a negative impression on the audience, because it's going to make you seem really small time and not that serious. Because if you're not going to take the effort to form a real band, they're not going to think that you play real music, maybe. I don't know. I do agree with Kevin, however, that in a setting, if you're hired in more of a supporting role and you're not in the spotlight, and if pre-recorded tracks can enable you to thicken and enrich your sound and also keep more of the money in your pocket, somehow that just seems more acceptable. That would seem less offensive. And then finally, as far as the guy who was so pissed off about the band that had captured their great musical journey and shared it with a series of video casts, I agree that for my own personal taste, that does seem like a bit of a self-absorbed approach, but you have to admit that it did work for them, so more power to them for that. And I don't see the point of getting so angry about what somebody else does, particularly if no one is forcing you to watch their videos or listen to their music. So, relax, dude. Take it easy, fellas.
All right. Well, thank you for that call, Dan.
Hey, Dan. I just talked to you last night.
Yeah, Dan has his own podcast. What's the name of the podcast?
Friends of Dan Music Podcast, I believe. It was really great. He interviewed me for probably like an hour, and it was so nice to be interviewed by someone who's obviously a musician instead of just, a general music journalist who wants all the dirt. But Dan asked music questions. It was refreshing.
Well,
Cool.
check out that podcast, Friends of Dan.
Friends of Dan Music Podcast,
All
I think.
right. Yes, indeed. Yeah, he had some good points there. The backing track thing, I agree with what he said, and I think we're all in agreement on that. All right. Well, it is summer, so hopefully you guys have some good summer stories. I'd like to hear some. We haven't heard any summer touring stories, so if you'd like to weigh in with your thoughts or comments about this episode or past episodes, you can do so by calling our listener line at 206-426-5683 or email us at info@cdbabypodcast.com or just go to the website, cdbabypodcast.com, and you can leave a comment. There was lots of comments for this last episode. Some interesting
And you know
ones.
what? If you're, I don't know how many people are out there on tour listening to our podcast, but if you are, give us a call from the road and let us know what's going on. When your van's, overheated on the side of the road.
I think we need some. We're approaching our 100th episode. We need some shout outs, people.
Yeah.
Give us some DIY Musician Podcast shout outs. I don't get your fans to say something. Come on.
Oh,
But,
live phone call live from stage. We're still waiting for that
we're
one.
still waiting for that
That's
one.
a great idea. We need to have a prize for that.
Yeah, well, we can
T-shirts.
do it.
We still have
I'll
T-shirts?
give away album submissions. We got a few T-shirts left. Somebody actually did ask about that. I'll give out some T-shirts, some free album
So are we
sign-ups.
committing to this if someone calls in from the stage while they're on stage playing show?
Yes.
We'll give them a T-shirt.
Oh, easy.
Okay.
As long as supplies last, because
And
we
it-
only have a handful left.
And it can't be a doctored recording of the crowd noise from Pink Floyd
It's gotta
Pulse or
be
something.
legit.
It's got,
I mean, come on, people. We can see right through that. So, yeah. Or if you want to make a video and send us a link, that would work too. Shout outs. And if you want to send us an iPhone 4, we will be happy to,
Definitely.
to receive gifts as well. Or band T-shirts. I love band T-shirts.
Basically, just send us anything.
I've been wearing your shirt lately, Chris.
Really?
Yeah.
Never to work? I don't see it.
Well, that'd be embarrassing.
It's more of like a painting shirt or
No.
wear to bed kind of shirt.
No, but
If you want to send us something, 5925 Northeast 80th Avenue, Portland, Oregon, 97218. Attention, podcasters.
Yeah, our CD Baby podcast. Make sure that's the biggest thing because
They'll get it out in the warehouse and we'll never see it.
I started giving people my home address just because they wanted to send me stuff, and I'll never see it if you send it here. Yeah, but check the website because we are moving soon.
Oh, that's right.
In a couple months, CD Baby will be relocating to some glorious tropical island out in the middle.
About 20 blocks away, I
20
hear.
blocks away, another industrial park. Okay, this episode is definitely done.
Happy
All right,
weekend.
Have a good weekend. We'll catch you next time.
Adios.
Bye.
You've been listening to the CD Baby DIY Musician Podcast, broadcasting from Portland, Oregon, USA.